It's Saturday morning, time for us to kick off the Experts program, and our tech expert, Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, is joining us now on Power Talk. Luis, welcome back.
Thank you, my friend. How are you?
Doing really well, and of course, we're that much closer to Thanksgiving, just another week and a half away, and then Christmas is, about 5 weeks away or so?
Yeah, and my favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. It's all about food, football, and family, so
the three F's.
F cubed.
You can't beat it. Food, football, and families. There you go. Well, listen, we've got some great information today to share with folks. Around this time of the year, folks start thinking about what they want to purchase as gifts for the holidays for family members and friends and so forth. And a lot of times it's centered around electronic goods. Not always. Can be clothing as well. But one of the things that we're hearing about, and it may not affect us for this holiday season, but future holiday seasons could be impacted. And that has to do with the idea of tariffs on foreign goods coming into the United States. And the new administration coming in January has some very definite ideas about imposing some new tariffs on goods that are coming into the U.S. from China and other producers. And particularly if we're talking about China and so many electronic goods that we use, our iPhones, television sets, so forth, computers come out of China. What are we looking at, Luis, if we have an increase in tariffs for these goods coming from China? What type of tariffs are we looking at as far as, percentage or dollar-wise, and how's that going to impact the bottom line for consumers?
So next year promises to be a very interesting year for electronics for a number of reasons, especially if you have a PC or a laptop and are looking to upgrade. So the Trump administration is talking about imposing blanket tariffs of between 10 and 20% on all imports to the United States. And in particular, Chinese goods, they're talking about up to 60% tariffs. And since the pandemic, a lot of tech companies have tried to reshore their technology production into either the United States or Mexico or other countries other than China, because they have had these issues going back way before the current times. And so even though they've tried to do that, still the bulk of all electronics are manufactured and imported from China. So if you think about if the administration holds to their promise of 60% tariffs, unlike Donald Trump, who thinks that those tariffs are paid by the countries in question, the reality is it's paid by you, the consumer, and us, the consumers, because those are prices, those tariffs means that the price is going to go up by whatever percentage of those tariffs. So next year, electronics in particular are going to get much more expensive. And there's also the issue that next year, especially if you're a Windows user, Windows 10, which has been an operating system that Microsoft has kept alive for a few years, even though Windows 11 has been out for several years now, it goes end of life and end of support, which means that there'll be no patches and updates. So a lot of people are planning on replacing those, Windows 10 devices with new devices. And then on top of that, if you think back to the pandemic times, there was a rush to go out and buy new systems because people started working remotely and they needed systems to work from home. And all of those systems now are going to be around 4 years old and due for a refresh if you're a business. So that triple whammy of tariffs, end of life for Windows 10, and the refresh cycle for a lot of PCs means that it's going to be more expensive and maybe even difficult to find PCs or laptops next year.
Right. Just be much more expensive. So a couple questions for you regarding this. First off, with Windows 10, if someone has, say you have Malwarebytes or Avast or, any number of these protection schemes for your computer, even if it goes out of support, are you still protected?
The answer is yes, you're protected from malware, but the problem is that vulnerabilities, things that are basically problems within the operating system, won't be patched anymore. So everybody knows that every day there are new vulnerabilities that are discovered in operating systems, be it Windows or Mac or even Linux and some of the other ones. And so those manufacturers rush out patches every month. Microsoft releases an update to their operating system that includes sometimes up to 100 patches and fixes to vulnerabilities. But come October of next year, they will stop doing that for Windows 10. And that means that the bad guys are just going to be preying on those old Windows 10 systems as vulnerabilities are discovered and not patched.
Okay.
So for our clients, we always recommend that they only allow in their environments operating systems that are fully supported by the vendor and are being patched and updated on a regular basis.
Now, I remember when we went through this with Windows 7, and I recall that Microsoft extended the protection beyond what they said they were going to. Any chance they'll do that for Windows 10 users?
Not this time. They've already done that twice for Windows 10. Actually, they originally said that Windows 10 would be out of support 2 years ago, and they extended that until next year. What they will offer corporate clients, that is not consumers, but big corporations that may have tens of thousands of Windows 10 devices, so they're still going through the process of upgrading those, is an extended support contract that they usually charge about $100 per system per year. And those systems will still be able to get patches and updates, but the companies will be paying for that. That option won't be available for consumers.
One other thing I did want to ask you about, where on the calendar is this going out of support in 2025? The end of the year, the middle of the year? When exactly do we know?
October 25th specifically of 2025. So you
about 11 months.
Yeah, you still have a long time to get that update, or some of the systems that people purchased that are not very old, maybe 2 or 3 years old. If you're still running Windows 10, chances are that you're eligible for a free Windows 11 upgrade. But if you have a PC that's over 3 years old, then I would recommend you consider getting a new one. And I would recommend, given the expectations for next year, that you do it sooner rather than later. Maybe this year, that's your Christmas present to yourself, is getting a new PC or a new laptop.
And then another question, looking ahead to the new laptops coming out, are we seeing them, Dell and any of the others, removing certain functionalities from them? For example, I'm looking at my laptop, which is an older one. I have an Ethernet port. I have USB. I have HDMI. I have USB 2.0 and USB 3.0. I have an audio jack. I have an SDI port. I have a video plug. Any of that disappearing?
Yes.
What's disappearing?
You have a very old laptop, my friend. So yeah, the audio inputs, those are going away. Most laptops now come with one USB-C and older USB port, no Ethernet port, no SDI port, HDMI port, and that's about it. It's kind of a bare bones systems because most people now are using either, wireless headsets or USB headsets, so that the old audio jack that we have gotten used to is kind of superfluous. And because of the slim look that most of these laptops have, the real estate is very small, so they can't really add a bunch of ports to it. And most people who want a hardwired connection to their device, if it's a laptop, will usually have either a docking station, which has an Ethernet port on it, or they'll get a USB to Ethernet adapter, which is pretty inexpensive thing. It's only about $20-25.
And, we're talking about big ticket items going up in price, but even small ticket items will go up in price because of these tariffs, proposed tariffs. For example, I'm looking at a mini Logitech wireless mouse. This is the very small ones. And it has a little USB antenna plug, right? That's what goes in the side of your computer. Well, on one of these, that little piece was lost. So I bought a new one for it because I can't stand throwing something away. I'm not into waste, electronic waste and stuff like that. So I said, you know what? The mouse works. All it needs is another one of these little USB antennas. So I went online and found it, and it was like $6.97 and about $6 for the shipping, which is approximately the price of a new mouse. So I could have bought a new mouse for the amount of money I'm spending for this. But once again, it's like, I don't believe in wasting stuff. And the whole idea of just like a disposable society where you throw stuff away, not such a good thing. Anyway, be as it may.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what that little tab is going to cost once these tariffs go in. You could see that going up in price along with the shipping. Yeah. And then somebody like me will say, well, now, geez, I hate the idea of throwing this thing away, but I'm just going to go buy a new one because maybe it'll be much more expensive. I don't know, but I'm anticipating even small items are going to go up in price.
Yeah, I mean, the Consumer Technology Association says that laptops and tablets could increase by 45%. So think about that. You'll see smartphones go up by 25% or more, and gaming consoles and televisions going up by between 10 and 15%. So it's going to be a hit to the economy, and it's not going to do anything to help the debt or reduce imports. It's just going to be more money being spent by the consumer.
All righty. Well, so folks, buck up for that. And if it happens, it has to go through Congress and the Senate, and we'll see if the debating process, what happens to those proposed tariffs. But right now could be pretty devastating in many respects. All right. That's Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, joining us today on Power Talk Radio. Online, it is alvareztg.com. At AlvarezTG is the X handle. Luis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-Team. That's 866-784-8326.
And Luis, looking ahead to Monday, we have more scams out there that we have to be aware of, right?
Yeah, we'll be talking about digital scams and how you can protect yourself from becoming a victim.
All right, that's Monday morning starting at 8:30 here on Power Talk Radio. Luis, thanks again and have a great weekend.
You too, my friend. Take care.